Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a pretty big video on Elemental Shaman. First, I want to go over all of the changes for 10.2. That way, in case anyone's been following along on all of my YouTube channels, they probably already kind of know a lot of the other stuff. So I want to go over the new stuff first, and then I'm going to go into kind of old stuff, but it's kind of updated old stuff after this. So it's going to be still a pretty big video, but I want to break everything down into different parts. So to begin with, I want to start with, obviously, the class changes. So to start off with Shaman, Mana Spring now restores, basically, we're just going to say less mana for Elemental Shaman. What is Mana Spring? So Mana Spring is this talent down here, where every time you cast Lava Burst, you restore mana to your allies. This is useful in Arena because it makes sure that you don't ever lose a fight to basically your healer going So this is still a useful talent, even though it got nerfed, but, you know, it's not, like, mandatory by any means. But we'll, again, get into the talents later on. I just want to go over the changes for now. Now, these ones are pretty big changes, actually. At least to me, they are. Splintered Elements, that's this talent down here. So what you could choose between Primordial Surge or Splintered Elements. Before, what it used to do was give you 10% haste per target that you would hit with the lava bursts from your primordial wave. Now they changed it so it's guaranteed 20% haste after you use your lava burst. It's kind of misleading here because it says it would give you 20% haste by your primordial wave plus an additional 4% per extra hit or target hit by primordial wave. At least that's what it said in different areas. So now you get guaranteed 20%. So if you have 3 targets, you lose about 2% of the haste, but it's not that big of a difference. But like 2 or 1 targets, you actually get a benefit from this change. Anything like 4 plus, you lose a lot of you lose a lot of bonus. So like Battlegrounds or like Mythic Plus or anything basically outside of 3v3 arena, you're going to be losing probably some damage or some haste on that. This one was a big one for me because I use this to my benefit a lot of times. Primordial Wave can no longer be used to heal a friendly ally. It is only an offensive spell now. So the reason this affected me was because I would macro a Primordial Wave to hit myself. And so that way you wouldn't just send this thing all the way across the screen. That's very obvious what you're doing. And so anyone knows, especially now with all the elemental bots that have been running around, that when you use a Primordial Wave, they know what it looks like, and they know to counter your burst that's about to come. And so as soon as they see that, they can prepare for that. And so I would use it on myself so they wouldn't see it, and so I would just shoot out Lava Burst, and it would just hit everyone instantly without them even knowing. Unless they had like a weak aura that showed like, oh, hey, he used Primordial Wave, but that was probably very unlikely. So you can't do that anymore, so you're basically forced to send a fucking death wave across the screen, which I hate this. I think this is a bad change. I don't even know why this is a problem. I don't know why this had to be changed. And then there's some Elemental Blast stuff, which again doesn't really affect us in PvP because no one really ever uses it until maybe the set bonus. Further Beyond can now extend the duration of Ascendance. Again, not really a big deal. They nerfed a talent that like people never really used anyways, unless it was like PvE maybe. And I noticed there was like a healing surge change too, but I think it was just for restoration because I tried to look everywhere for Elemental Shaman and even General Shaman, and I don't see it anywhere. I saw it on another post saying that it was a General Shaman change, so maybe one of you guys in the comments could tell me whether or not you think it's affecting Elemental or not. I'm under the assumption that it isn't, but I'm not too sure on that. So now the set bonuses. I made a post about this on my channel a little while ago, and some people had some comments. So the 2 set for Elemental Primordial Wave also casts an Elemental Blast at the target at 70% effectiveness and grants you all 3 Elemental Blast bonus effects for 10 seconds. So this is a pretty good tier set in my opinion for PvP, for, you know, like 3v3 and stuff, solo shuffle, because Elemental Blast does quite a bit of damage. Like if we look at the talent here, obviously you have your PvP modifiers and stuff, but it says 72,000 elemental damage. And we also get all 3 of the bonus effects. So that's crit, haste mastery for 10 seconds. So normally you would get about 6% of the stats for 10 seconds. And so it doesn't really specify if that's changing in like PvP combat or anything like that. I'm not even sure if there's any PvP modifier tags associated with any of these set bonuses. Again, maybe you guys can tell me in the comments. A 70% elemental blast that gives you all 3 bonus effects for 10 seconds. That seems pretty good because your primordial wave is meant to do your burst. And when you kind of get like a mini burst on top of that, that really adds to that first initial damage burst. It makes our burst window a little bit tighter. Not as far as like time goes, but like the damage, the average amount of damage is in a smaller window than what it would normally be. And so this could give us a lot more kill windows, I believe. I'm not really too sure about how a lot of the other classes tier sets are comparing to this though. Okay, so the 4-piece. At first this seems kind of underwhelming, but I'll dive into why I think it's actually pretty decent. Lava Burst burns your target for 10% additional damage over 4 seconds. So again, that doesn't seem like that's a whole lot of damage, but you got to think about it like this. We use Lava Burst a lot. So it's basically always going to be on our target. And not only that, but our bursts, and with this new Elemental Blast and the synergies between everything, you're going to be hitting other targets with a lot of Lava Bursts as well. Like the second part of this reads, and after consuming Primordial Wave, your next 2 casts of Lava Burst also hit up to 3 additional targets affected by your Flame Shock. So this is basically like 2 mini Primordial Waves. You get you get 2 more Primordial Waves on top of your main Primordial Wave. It's only for 65% of the damage, but you know, you get 2 of them, so that'd be 130% damage. That's like, I don't know, I think that's fucking crazy. A lot of people seem like they were underwhelmed with this, but I think this is fucking insane. The synergies between these two just seems fucking nuts. And I don't know. I'm thinking of a lot of different talent synergies with these, and it seems like there could be a lot of fun shit going on. Now, again, one of the synergies I was talking about is since you're going to be casting a lot of Lava Bursts at different targets, you're going to be leaving this burn on all the targets. So like if you're doing 3v3 arena, a lot of times you're going to be hitting everybody with Lava Bursts and with your like deeply rooted elements if that procs. So you're gonna most of the time have 10% additional damage on all 3 targets. That's gonna be a lot of, you know, just sustained damage throughout the fight. It's gonna be almost like we're a lot like an Affliction lock mixed with a Destro lock. So another change that kind of went under the radar that I didn't even know about until recently is the cooldown of the Gladiator's Medallion is now 90 seconds for all healer specs. Was 120 seconds. So this is you know, it's a very good start. It's a nice change for sure, but it's not going to solve the problem for healers in like solo shuffle and arena. There's just way too much CC. Healers just don't want to deal with it, you know, and then they also have to deal with a lot of dumb DPS, and like 30 seconds, you know, that's still a minute and a half. You have to wait until your next CC when there's like a billion CCs in the game now. It's just kind of ridiculous. And now it seems there's an increasing type of CC, which isn't really CC. It'd be like line of sight, because now like evokers are getting that firewall, mages have like the frost wall, warlocks are getting like these like additional teleports and stuff. It's just getting out of hand. It needs to be reduced, and they just keep adding more of it. So this is a nice change, but it's not going to really solve anything. So another nice little change that I saw was that Blizzard just changed the resource bar for elemental shamans. They changed a few other classes too, but I don't really know what those were. So you can see down here, it just looks a little bit different. Nothing really, I mean, mind-blowing, but it's cool. I like it. Oh, yeah, before you could buy the upgraded conquest gear, these trophies, you could buy these, and people were scooping them up. But I don't have any conquest because I didn't play, so I couldn't do that. But it looks like they brought the vendor back. So here you can see I have a 473 piece of gear. This is what you can get from the war mode, and the war mode vendor is right here, in case you don't know, right here on the map. at the PvP area, and you can exchange bloody tokens for the PvP gear. So you can see it's 473 here. And there's also a world quest you can do. I don't know if it's still up, but it's at this obsidian bulwark here. And there might be different ones that pop up, but just check out the world quest and see if they're giving any war mode PvP gear. But once the season starts, then you're going to want to farm up your honor. You're going to want to come to this guy. You're going to want to buy all of your honor gear. And while you're doing that, you're going to want to buy your conquest gear while you're farming out your conquest. Now, because this tier set, at least to me, again, I don't know if there's any PvP modifiers making it worse, but you're going to want to get your tier set relatively fast, because these tier bonuses are going to be very, very nice, and it might also allow you to play a different build that you might enjoy a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy any tier pieces that I can get first, and then once you get your pieces that can get converted into tier, you're going to want to fly up to tier hold and use the catalyst or whatever and turn your gear into tier gear. And so you want to try to get that 4 set. And on top of that, you want to try to get these trophies for your crafted pieces, because you're going to want to upgrade your helm, which gives you your precog. So your precog is when you juke a kick. So like if I start healing and I stop it, and then they use their silence after I stopped it, that's a juke. You will get precog, which makes you immune to crowd control, interrupts, cast pushback effects, everything. Incredibly, incredibly useful. And not only can you juke it that way, but you can also juke it by, if you're using Spirit Walker's Aegis here, you start casting and you use your Spirit Walkers, so you're immune to silence effects. If they use their silence, you'll get it again. You'll get precog. Whenever you apply a loss of control effect to an enemy, interrupt an enemy, or dispel an enemy, increases your primary stat by a lot. And so this is your second piece, your second crafted piece that you're going to want to upgrade with the trophies. But the trophies I think you can get other ways, either through like quests or a weekly or something. I think I'm not too sure about that. I just remember last season being given one from something. I think it was a quest line. And once you're done with all of that, I would focus on your weapons. Your weapon is a huge upgrade. You definitely want to get that immediately. You're going to want to get all of your enchants. They should just be the same as what they always are. You can just look them up on Wowhead if you want to. And then what trinkets you're going to want to run? You're going to want to run, obviously, the medallion. And you're going to want to run the haste trinket. I'm going to run full haste just because it always feels so much better, especially as a caster. You always want full haste. Haste as an elemental shaman has always been like high priority. That and mastery, but we're going to prefer versatility over mastery for the damage reduction. And mastery is just as good as haste. It's very good, but I'm going to prioritize haste over mastery. Crit is definitely a lot lower because our lava bursts obviously crit no matter what if we have a flame shock on the target, which is what we're always going to do. And so you're not going to really want crit as much. Okay, so next I want to go over the 2 talent builds for season 3 and their burst rotations. It's not really that in depth, as well as a few important macros. And then I want to go over some new possible talent builds that I think will be super interesting. So to start off with, we have the Icefury build. Again, it's the same Icefury build we know and love. And so your burst rotation is basically going to just be, so you want your flame shock on the target, you know, that's probably already going to be on there. You want to start trying to get your Icefury out, because the sooner you have your Icefuries out and you get your flux melting proc here, so your flux melting increases your lava burst damage, your next lava burst damage from here. And then when you use your primordial wave, apparently I can't use primordial wave on the PvP training dummy. Okay, I can use it on that guy. So flux melting, that'll increase your primordial wave lava burst damage, and so that'll give you a little bit extra damage. Now if you're spec'd into Icefury, you're going to want to use that. So for general PvP talents, I like to run Burrow, Icefury grounding, but if you're running like Shadow Play, for instance, you could run something like Seasoned Winds, and you could pair that with, you know, like you probably need Cleanse Spirit and stuff, and maybe you could do Totemic Surge and Totemic Projection, you know, your totem stuff, maybe totemic recall for your extra grounding totems. If you're running into melee, you're probably going to want to use static field and unleash shield instead of maybe grounding in Sky Fury, but always keep burrow. I think that's kind of like a staple now. I hate when Blizzard does this. It's like they add something that's like so obviously necessary that it just kind of fills up a slot. Now, some other possibilities would be like for if I'm doing arena or something, maybe Mana Spring, Healing Stream Totem, and Swirling Currents for the baseline health regeneration and mana regeneration. So you could probably get rid of like Enfeeblement here. Obviously, Ancestral Defense isn't really necessary. And you could swap a few talents. That's why I really like the talent trees that they did in Dragonflight, because there's a lot of choices you can make here that aren't like really like required or necessary. And even with this tree too, like I'm obviously going to bring up a second build here. So here's my Stormkeeper build, which you can see I'm running like some healing stream stuff, but you basically just swap your Icefury, Flow Power, and your Flux Melting for these three talents down here for more of a lightning build. And so with this, what you're going to want to do is really simple. You want to try to like pre-charge your Stormkeeper if you can, and then use your, oh my god, I forgot, I can't hit him. Use your Primordial Wave, use your Lava Bursts, and you want to try to have some Maelstrom built so you can hit your Earthshock, because your Earthshock gives you Surge of Power, which when you use it on a Lightning Bolt gives you 2 additional lightning overloads. And then you use your Stormkeeper, and then after you use your first Stormkeeper, you want to try to hit an Earthshock, another Stormkeeper again, because you want a Surge of Power proc for both of the Stormkeepers. So you need Earthshock, Lightning Bolt, Earthshock, Lightning Bolt. And in the meantime, you're throwing out meatballs and stuff. So again, not a difficult rotation, but you also want to make sure you have your Sky Fury totem down, and you can use a Saltwater Potion if you're doing like Battlegrounds, but you want to use those before you use your damaging buttons. And also your Fire Elemental has an off global meteor, so you can see just came down right there. Nothing was on cooldown, and so you can do that in the middle of your burst rotation. Now, where do you want to use it? Probably towards the end a little bit, so it's a little bit less predictable. So maybe like after your first Stormkeeper, Earthshock, and then on maybe your second Stormkeeper, use it at the same time as your meteor, and so that last hit is a little bit tougher, and it might even get them killed because they didn't expect extra damage. Some other macros, I have like focus macros here. Here is my self macro that I was using Primordial Wave on myself, but you can't use it on yourself anymore. See, it doesn't work. I have like cursor macros for my totems. I have a cancel macro for Burrow, Spirit Walker's Grace, and my elementals. So I have a stun macro for my Earth Elemental and a meteor macro for my Fire Elemental, which also pairs with my racial passive pretty nicely. So I have that tied together. So that's a 2-minute cooldown, and my Fire Elemental is 2.5-minute cooldown. But you generally want to use your racial passive, or your racial abilities with your burst anyways. So you lose about 30 seconds on the cooldown, but at least it's with your burst guaranteed every single time. You could find something that's even better for pairing Ancestral Call with probably than Fire Elemental, but I wasn't that concerned about it. I don't really want to think about it. Okay, so now the interesting stuff. What's some interesting talent choices that we could possibly do? So what I was thinking, let me pull up the tier set here again. So Primordial Wave casts an LE Blast. Now this would pair very well with Elemental Equilibrium, because when you deal Fire, Frost, Nature damage, this increases your damage by 8% for 10 seconds every 30 seconds. And so when your Primordial Wave is a 45-second cooldown, so basically every time you use a Primordial Wave, you get Elemental Equilibrium. And this also stacks up 2 times because there's 2 points, so you basically get 16% or 15% because it doesn't exactly double. But some other synergies that I could see possibly happening is, well, since we're basically getting an Elemental Blast, would this work with Lightning Rod? I'm actually very interested at seeing if we would be able to proc this. If we could proc this with the Primordial Wave LE Blast, this would be pretty nice for the Stormkeeper build. So this would basically make it so you get the LE Blast like one-shot build without all the extra shit. So normally you would have to run like Icefury and Electrified Shocks for the extra nature damage, LE Blast, Elemental Equilibrium, Lightning Rod. So this could potentially bring back like a shorter version of the LE Blast one-shot build. So basically a similar amount of damage, but like in the burst rotation, but it also has stronger sustain damage because we get to keep all of this stuff without having to spec into like Icefury, Electrified Shocks for the nature damage, LE Blast. You know, that saves 3 points right there. So we'd have to spec out of like Skybreakers and Magma Chamber or something, and maybe get Elemental Equilibrium, Lightning Rod, and maybe like 1 point in a Magma Chamber for the buildup on the Elemental Blast damage. And so like if you did something like this, you would basically do the exact same Stormkeeper rotation, because if you use your Stormkeeper and then you use your Primordial Surge, you get that Elemental Equilibrium buff immediately off of that and the Lightning Rod buff without even having to worry about casting LE Blast. So this, I think, could be really fun to use, and I'm going to make this another third build, I think. I think that this could potentially be very strong. And also, if you have like a point here in the Power of the Maelstrom, if you can get this to proc first before you start your burst rotation, that'll just give you even more damage. So you want to like use your lava bursts, and once you get your Power of the Maelstrom, then it's time to burst. That's like, okay, I got this proc, and now my lightning bolts are going to be doing a lot more damage. So once you get that proc, you do your same rotation, you know, your Stormkeeper, Primordial Wave, Lava Burst, Earthshock, Lightning Bolt, Earthshock, Lightning Bolt, and then boom, you got fucking massive damage. So I think this could definitely be a top build. So let me know what you guys think about all the changes that we got and what you think about my builds, and definitely let me know if there's anything that I missed, because I definitely want to know, especially like the PvP modifiers. I didn't see anything about PvP modifiers, so I'm very interested to see if there's any of that, because that might change a lot of what I said. And let me know if there's anything else that I might have missed. And until then, I'll see you guys next time.